2021. It's been over for a little bit now. I'm finally getting to my year-end list season. I feel like March is a good month for this. I feel like March is going to be the month that I do this, even though I'm technically filming this in February. I'm thinking this will be released in March. Not really sure when I'll be releasing it, but yeah, this is just my top 10 worst movies of 2021. So let's preface this first. 2021 was a decent year for movies. I'm not going to say it's anywhere near something like a 2017 or 2019, anything like that, but one, I guess you could say it's better than 2020 just by default. One, I saw a lot more movies for obvious reasons, and there was just more quantity of movies that came out in 2021, but we'll talk more about that in my best list. What really permeated 2021 was a lot of pretty good movies. I gave out several Bs and B minuses and B pluses, a lot of in the B range. Was what I gave out this year, and there was really not that many bad movies. I actually did not give out my worst grade an F, and I would kind of stand by that. Maybe I just didn't seek out as many bad movies. Maybe I just don't think some movies were as bad as people were saying they were. Like Halloween Kills is not on this list, just because I didn't think it was that bad, or stuff like that. People were disappointed. I really didn't find many problems with. So no dishonorable mentions, because really I had a hard time filling up this list anyway, because really most of these wouldn't be on a worse list in any other year, which is kind of a good thing. These are just more mediocre and disappointing movies that I got to see in 2021. So yeah, let's kick this off with number 10. First off, we have Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This might be a little bit of a controversial pick, but this is just a major letdown. I mean, it wasn't, again, not the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't even call it horrible by any means. It was just a waste. It was a waste of a good premise. It was a waste of a decent sequel. It was a waste of improving on the Venom character from the last movie, because the last movie was not great also, but there was a lot of things I did really like about that first Venom movie, and Let There Be Carnage really just kind of sucks. It does. It sucks, and it sucks that it wasted the potential that Venom had. It was also a waste of Carnage as a character, barely in the movie, and when he is, he's extremely lame. Woody Harrelson is doing the best he could possibly do with the source material here, meaning the script, not the actual character. But it really is a waste of Carnage as a character and how creepy he could have been, and he's just severely lame in this movie. It's also half of a movie. It has one of the worst scripts of any superhero film I've seen in forever, and it skips past a major plot point that should be in the movie that just isn't. Like, it's missing a first act, and it's severely short. It's only an hour and a half long, which normally I'm not going to complain about. There is an overabundance of long movies that have been coming out recently. But this movie needed to be longer than what it was. Just legitimately had no first act and kind of filled those first 10 minutes with pointless exposition that could have been showed and not told. If that makes any sense. So yeah, my number 10 is Let There Be Carnage. This movie really was a pretty big letdown for me. And coming up next, we have Cry Macho. This movie is painful to sit through, and not because, again, it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to be repeating myself over and over again, but because of how painful it is to watch Clint Eastwood stumble through this movie. It's not funny. It's not, ho ho ho, look at the old guy. It's really sad to try to see him act his way through this movie, and he really can't. He's obviously struggling. This movie moves at a snail's pace. The story is really nonsensical. The action is just not there. The child acting is really lame. It has basically no plot to it whatsoever, and it cannot get past the first gear. It can't get past the slow opening sequence, and is way too mellow. Is way too much of a nothing movie. This is like a episode of a TV show that nobody has watched. Everyone has just skipped through on Netflix. It's also pretty dumb. The script is pretty bad, and again, it's kind of painful to say this, but Clint Eastwood should not be making any more movies. He's very old, and he kind of proved that with this thing. It was just painful to sit through, and that's why it's on this list. And then we have Jolt. This movie honestly wasn't going to be on here for the longest time. I was kind of entertained while watching it, but the more and more I thought of it, the dumber this movie got, and the more and more I really didn't enjoy it. I mean, Jai Courtney is always obnoxious. I hated his character in this movie. The action was fine. It was weirdly shot. The production design was really noticeably bad. And it was just an absurdly dumb movie that, like, again, in a lesser year with more crap in it, this movie would probably not be on this list. Like, movies from 2022 already have beaten this out in terms of bad quality. But this movie, again, I have to make this list, and something had to be on there, and this movie has to be here. It's my number 8 spot. It is a bad movie. I'm not gonna stick up for it or anything. But yeah, it's dumb, and that's really all there is to say about this movie. Jolt is stupid. A lot of other people would probably have this movie a lot lower down on their list, or higher, or however that works. And I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Mortal Kombat wasn't that terrible. No, it was not a good movie. The plot was really stupid. The writing was awful. The action sequences were really bland for the most part. I do like the ending action sequence and the opening, but other than that, it was really lame. I found a lot of the characters to be super obnoxious. I don't really like how this was just a first part to a probably not franchise for as little money as this movie made. And it really just ruined the entire potential of having more Mortal Kombat movies by being as painfully mediocre as this movie is. This movie is so mediocre. It's so run-of-the-mill. It's so just kind of there. And that's kind of been the trend with recent video game movies. I haven't seen Uncharted, but I feel like it's going to be the same thing. The latest Tomb Raider movie, I still like that movie, but it also kind of slides into this category of video game movies that aren't as bad as they used to be, but are so mediocre and so forgettable that you just, like, oh, there was even a movie adaptation of that video game? Really? Like, most people have forgotten about the Mortal Kombat movie from last year. I've heard almost nobody talk about it, and there's a real reason for that, and that this movie was so forgettable and instantly left my head the second I closed out of the tab. Reminiscence was a really big disappointment for me. I was actually really looking forward to it. I thought this was going to make my best of the year list. Hugh Jackman's in it. The trailers look really good, at least when they were first announced. But then I saw a second trailer, and more of the movie was revealed, and I kind of went, ah. And this was just the bad Inception. For someone who isn't as in love with that movie, Inception, as other people are, this movie was especially bad for me. It had its moments visually, especially, but really it was just a hollow experience. Hugh Jackman did not seem like he wanted to be there. Very by the books kind of dystopian thriller. The action was just not there. The story was really not there. The acting was not there. This movie was just not all there. And you could tell that it was just kind of put out there. So yeah, Reminiscence, just a plainly bad movie. We're starting to get to the actual terrible movies with Old. I've always really not been a fan of the way Shyamalan writes dialogue, even in the movies of his that I truly love, like Signs and The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, even The Village. Not Split. I will leave Split out of that category because that movie actually is pretty well written, but my God, the way he writes dialogue pisses me off and is so unnatural sounding and so just poorly written, so obviously poorly written that it has to be he's doing it on purpose and he thinks it's clever or subversive, and to me it just comes off as, what the fuck are you doing? And this is probably the worst offender of this, maybe even worse than The Happening. It's not a worse movie from The Happening, not even close, but it definitely has a worse script. The performances are stupid. They're stupid. There's no other way to describe it. The direction choices were really odd. The story choices were super out of nowhere, and not in a good way. The twist is unbelievably lame, and even though the climax was kind of entertaining, there were some thrilling moments here and there, and the cinematography was honestly really good. The movie as a whole was just really, really not good. I was one of the first people to kind of be like, hey, the old looks really crappy. Why is everyone excited for this movie? And then it came out and everyone was like, oh, it's terrible. And I was like, I told you so. This trailer was ridiculous, and this movie was ridiculous and not a very good way. I don't know why I was excited for this movie. The first Space Jam really isn't anything special, and I don't know. I watched it recently and kind of thought to myself, oh, this is why Space Jam 2 was so terrible. It's basically just a giant Warner Brothers ad. You know those movies that they play while you're in a theme park, or like a tour of the studio or something like that, and they play a little mini movie that goes along with the tour and makes it fun. That's like this movie, but way worse. Like even those have more effort put into them, and they are literal advertisements. The climax, like the actual basketball scene in this movie, is bonkers insane in such a bad way. LeBron James, watching him try to act in this movie is just painful. That's all I can really describe it as, is super painful to watch, just because he is awful. He is so bad, even worse than Michael Jordan. I didn't even know that was possible, and from an acting perspective. But he was stumbling through this entire movie. And honestly, what were they doing with this movie? What were we doing with this movie? Honestly, what were we expecting? What were we hoping for? Because it definitely wasn't this. Because this was, I don't even know. Kind of a surprise slap in the face back in, I think, May when this movie came out. It was on Netflix and it looked pretty interesting. Me and Cam wanted to watch it, and we turned it on, and wow, this thing was brutally terrible. I mean, it's kind of dressed up as a good movie with admittedly great cinematography. The only saving grace of this movie is its cinematography, but it is unbearably dumb. The tension is so forced and so shoved down your throat. Amy Adams' weird performance is just distracting throughout the entire time, and even like the set design is super like hollow and plasticky, and is dressed up to be this like, oh, this is a legitimate movie with legitimate actors in it, and it is just not that. It has one of the worst, probably the worst script out of any of these movies. It falls so flatly on its face with anything it's trying to convey, and it's painful to sit through. The twists and the ending. Holy shit! I totally forgot about the ending until just now, but it is terrible. It is so bad. It frustrates me beyond, I don't even know what. This movie is frustrating. It is boring as sin for the most part, and then it gets like laughably stupid, and then right back to being boring, and then a crazy ass ending that makes pretty much no sense. So yeah, The Woman in the Window was an experience. Yet again, another disappointment. This movie really, really was frustrating. Again, not the worst, absolute worst thing in the entire world. There were some competent shots. There was some, I guess that's it. But it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I will say that. But man, is it close to that edge. It's teetering on that edge. If the cinematography wasn't as cool in this movie, it would probably be an F, just because of all of the poor decisions made in this movie. It could have been pretty good. It has a decent premise. I could see why A24 greenlit this. I could see why they went about making it like they did. But the stuff that's good on paper and the actual execution is such a huge, huge gap in this movie. The horror is just nowhere to be found. There's no tension. There's no, oh, what's going to happen? Not even like one scene where I was on the edge of my seat. It has the most self-indulgent A24 ending I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's not a good thing. The performances were also so wooden and so... I know they were purposely wooden. I know they were purposely like that, but it was just the wrong decision because it made this movie feel super awkward. False Positive is a awkwardly bad movie, and I just get a lot of secondhand embarrassment while watching it. And the worst movie of 2021, or at least the worst movie I saw in 2021, was Moxie. I don't think I talked about this movie too much when I reviewed it. Me and Cam were gonna like rip into it in a video, but we did that. I don't know. That just never happened. But man, we had such a fun time watching this movie because it is terrible. It is so bad. Where do we even begin? I think on Letterboxd I called it performative activism the movie, and that really ranged true on a second viewing because it is just so, it thinks it's so clever. It thinks it's saying all these new political ideologies, and really no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, I feel like this movie's embarrassing. I very much agree with this movie's politics. Like, I'm on the side of the movie of what it's trying to say. Every topic it brings up, I agree with. Every issue that it brings up, I agree with. Like, I'm firmly on the political side of this movie, but man, does it fall flat on its face with every single message it tries to convey. Amy Poehler, what the hell were you thinking with this movie? I mean, from everything from the shoehorned in rape case that is at the end of this movie, that is just like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? Or the middle of the movie where they're all just kind of like gathered around in this Disney Channel type hyping each other up moment that was just, what the fuck is going on? And the love interest, Jesus Christ, the love interest in this movie. He's not a bad actor. I really liked him in Booksmart, but what? Like, what? What was the appeal of him in this movie? What was the, like, he brought his date to a funeral home? Who the fuck does that? I can't with this stupid movie. I didn't give it an F, but I might now. I don't know. It's very much on that line. No, it's not like complete dog shit. It's competently shot. It's like a studio movie, so it can't be really that bad, I guess. But holy shit, does this movie make me angry? Just because of how badly it betrays believing in these politics. Like, this people from the other side, if they were smart, would use this as ammo against people on my side of the political spectrum, just because this movie is so embarrassing and so from a millennial's point of view of how teenagers act today, that it comes off as a bunch of Disney Channel executives trying to conjure up what kids are into these days, or what a high school movie is really like, and just fails at it so miserably. And bring up like the political stuff. I don't want to get too political. I don't know, but like I know what I believe in, and again, this movie like has those elements. It brings up the topics of like, oh yeah, I agree with that, or yeah, that's exactly how I feel, and butchers them, just absolutely butchers them. And I feel like anybody who does agree with the like left politics and anything like that would hate this movie just because of how badly it betrays it. So yeah, that's my little rant. That's the only time I think I've ever talked about politics on this channel. But this movie pisses me off, genuinely. And I hope Amy Poehler never directs anything again, which is sad because I do like her as an actress a lot. But whew, no, just no. Got a little heated there. So that is my wrapping up of the bad movies of 2021. So yeah, that's it. That's it for my list. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know your guys' list. Just talk to me, people, about what you thought about this list. And me and Cameron will be back. Say hello, Cameron. She's on FaceTime right now. And we'll be back with our favorites of 2021, with the positive side. Yeah, see you guys then.